and welcome to Stuff I Find Interesting. This is part 2 of 12, and I'm just breaking it up into chunks to see if people like it better, make it more digestible. As lovely as I am to listen to, I'm sure that, like a whole 30 minutes might be a little too much, right? So we're gonna, So all of these, everything that I'm doing, playing the music, looking at these various links, are going to be in referenced below so that you can check them out yourself if you want. If not, that's certainly okay too. The idea is just to get you thinking and to get you to say, hey, that's interesting. So here's something that's interesting. Welcome back to the 80s. So we've got, let's click on something here. Let's go to comedy. I have no idea what's about to happen. I didn't do this before. So I didn't know I was going to do this. But hey, look at this. It's stuff from the 80s. So you can, if you want to bug out over
the kids
80s.
Of Elm Street don't know it yet, but something is coming to get them.
There's something out there, isn't there?
So anyway, that looks like a fine time. That looks like a good way to sort of waste a lot of hours. So these are this is picture time. We're just looking at pictures. And we've got this, which is what? I don't even know, which leads to stuff like this. Wat Jiang Quan, which is Buddha Park. It says it's famous, and I'm sure it is. But as Americans, it's interesting. We have like pockets of knowledge that are really intense, and then other things we know freaking nothing about it. All right, this picture is great. This is from a World's Fair. This is the Manchester Jubilee, which I think was in 1887. It was held in Manchester. And this picture is just the quality of the picture, the one that's not loading right now. Come on, what are you doing? Oh, really? Ah, it worked. Okay. So look, we can scroll in and we can read this sign. Machinery in motion, railway station, third class refreshments. Maybe that means like the cheap stuff. Working dairy, working bakery, toboggan slide, switchback railway. And we've got this wonderful fountain. There's paintings up on the buttresses of this steel girder structure. We've got some gardening going on over here, and it's just beautiful, right? So that will be included for your enjoyment. That is a World's Fair picture. Now if I show this to you and I said, pray tell, where might this picture be from? You would probably say maybe Denmark, right? Well, I'm here to tell you this is New York City. And this is New York City when New York City had canals and when the Dutch were kind of in charge. And it's interesting, around here there's a lot of Dutch buildings. In fact, the very first building structure, house in our county was built by the Dutch. And it can be visited. And you can do like tours and stuff. It's an interesting snapshot. This is a cool picture that I found. This is an interesting album. I would encourage everybody to look at these albums. So this is a whole collection. If you look here where it says Cornell, the blah, blah, blah collection, that's going to bring you back to like a whole bunch more pictures that you can look at. And the reason why I say that is because I'm having a harder time finding this stuff, which means it's becoming more proprietary and it might not be out there for view anymore. So you want to see it, before you can't see it. So here's these two guys in front of this amazing mosque, and this guy's, he's just very chill. He's holding some beads. He looks very thoughtful, and this guy's like, yeah. But this pattern, I know there's a name for it, but I don't know what the name is, but it shows up in mosques over and over and over again. And it has to do with sacred geometry. So we're back to that again, the sacred geometry, because everything is connected. This is in Spain. I had no idea this place even existed, so I've added it to my list of things to look up because this is wild. It's like little windows cut in the rock or holes or something like that's definitely interesting. This is a map that I found. I think I might have shown you this map before, but I didn't show you the super zoomable one. So this is an old map. Now this shows that there are all these continents around the center of the North Pole, the Polar Arctic. And it's obviously kind of not correct, but it's cool to kind of look at and scroll around at. So that's why I'm including it. So you can go like this. It's not in English, but you can Google it. You can just Google this right here. And you can find probably translations of anything on here that, because there's like little sayings and stuff. So cool little thing I came across that I had saved that was from before. Now this is to introduce you to I was poking through some maps and I found this map about mining, and that's going to be a project that I'm going to be bringing to this this thing that I do, because I've found a lot of very interesting things when it comes to mining. Mining it's an interesting subject because it covers so many different things. You've got geology, money, labor, capitalism, we're back to that again, the making of luxury goods, exploitation, possible enrichment, right? There have been communities that have been enriched by the fact that they have precious metals. Most of the time, no. But look at this. I don't know what this is supposed to be, but it's just stunning. Lots of mysteries to be found in mining. So I just bring that up as a prelude to what we'll be talking about. And on the same map, the David Rumsey, I love David Rumsey. This is the Isle of Pleasure, and what cracks me up about it is it all Hangover Hollow, Highball Grounds, Marsh Beer Flats. It's all about alcohol. It's kind of funny. You might enjoy looking at it. And there's other stuff too. This is Karnak. This is on a, this is just, on a page that I found with archaeological pictures. And this one just struck me as very beautiful. And so I threw it up here. And this is the J.R. Sitlington Sterrett collection. This is a guy, he was a professor, a Greek professor, and for decades he traveled in that sweet spot of time before stuff started getting like really destroyed or eroded or lost to building, whatever. So there's like 300 pictures that this guy has of things that you're probably not going to see anymore. The stuff is probably gone already. And it takes a while to load. Also, I have a lot of stuff open, but it's a nice little ditty. You can just sort of click through and look at all the different pictures. Now, for some reason, I was looking at plum bottles, and I'm like, well, what's a King by May Ping? What is that? What is a King by May King? And it is a plum bottle. So what is a plum bottle? It's literally a vase that you put plum branches in, and that's what it is, and it's a special thing. And so you could spend some time bugging out over these particular vases. Some of them are very ancient, very beautiful. And now if we were to go shopping, let's go shopping for a plum vase. Oh, here we have the Arizona iced tea version of it. If we go to, obviously I'm kidding, we go to high to low, $12,180. That doesn't quite have the traditional shape though, in my opinion. Let's go down to one that does. They're kind of pushing it, some of these. This one is potentially, yeah, this is one that's definitely like, I feel like it's like real. And I say that based on experience of selling antiques and collectibles. Incidentally, quick story time. The place that I lived and worked at when I had my own antiques collectibles business burned down this week, including a pizza place that had been around for 50 years and was probably the first place that I ever ate pizza at. So I was very sad to see that. And it also displaced a bunch of families that lived above the stores. So, yeah, it makes me a little sad. It's like it's a chapter, a part of my history is now gone. But I'm confident they'll rebuild. This is a guy who uses AI to take cool pictures, to create cool pictures of weird cameras. That's what this guy does, weird cameras. These are not real. These are not functional. These are created with part computer, part photography. And I had so much fun looking at these because they're so pretty. I mean, just... Where's the chocolate one? There's one made out of chocolate. There's a chocolate one. Old-timey one. One made out of coral. This is crystal. Here's one that's fancy. That's right. That's super fancy. So yeah, you can bug out over, I'm not sure what the frog's about, but you can bug out over over it. So we're heading into the headlines. We're going to cruise through this. How the Great Jamopol Fire of 1907 started. So this is what got me thinking about my business and my old home burning down is this, because this place basically no longer exists because the whole thing burned down. And it has some pictures of it and some history. And the thing that got my attention about Jamopol was this article, which is an unattractive entrance to a great adventure. Well, that makes me want to go there, right? Don't you want to go there now? Like, look at that. Like, whoa, okay, yeah. Unattractive entrance to a great adventure. Sure, why not? So it's now modern Incheon or Korea. South Korea, not North Korea. And it goes into the history, which is kind of cool to read about. Just a part of the world that I didn't know about, and now I know about it. Okay, so mining. Remember I was talking about, we're going to be talking about mining. This is more of that prelude. First Majestic Silver plans to mine for silver in the heart of Mexico's peyote country. For the Huichol people, the project is an environmental risk and a spiritual crisis. During COVID, I came across a treasure trove of documents from First Majestic Silver that I don't think I was supposed to be able to see, and I still have them. And it's about their plans and what they plan on doing and the different places they plan on hitting along the spine of Mexico in the middle that's rich in natural resources. And there are peoples that live there, and the mining companies come in and they say, oh, we're going to benefit the community, money's going to pour in. And no. The people get exploited for labor. The land gets exploited for its riches. The beauty is destroyed. The history is destroyed. I mean, I understand that mining has to happen, right? This is metal. We got all kinds of metal around here, but I don't know. It just makes me very upset to think about, and especially the documents that I saw. And I'm definitely coming back to that. You better bet that I'm coming back to that. Now, here's something I want to show you. Where is it? This is the Santa Ana mine. Look how freaking big that is. Huge. This little dude kind of standing there. I mean, like, what's that? Is that like... I feel like things are found down there and they just get like sold off to like rich dudes and they never see the light of day. This is Real de Catorce. This is one of the places that they want to rip up. And it is a stunningly beautiful place. Now, ironically, Real de Catorce was in the late 1700s, early 1800s, went through kind of a period where a bunch of people came in and the land was exploited. And then in the late 1800s, early 1900s, that happened again. So it's like a city on top of a city on top of a city. This is the new city, new city. And then we have the ghost part of the previous city. So this is the previous city. And it's Peyote County, but it's a spiritual thing. It's not like, oh, hey, let's get high and do peyote. Although tourists do go there for that specific reason. I probably would have done that in my 20s too. I can't really judge. But if you do go to places like this, just be respectful. If you're going to do some ayahuasca or ayahuasca or however you pronounce it, which I'm told is an interesting experience. So lots of cool pictures you can look at. There used to be canals in Manhattan. So this is an article that talks about, remember, we just saw the picture in part 1 of the people walking, the Dutch people walking. This is what it looked like. And Manhattan once had canals. The Heergracht was a canal that ran down Broad Street into the East River for 30 years, from 1646 to 1676. And there is some background. And the canals were wide enough for small boats. And after New Amsterdam's handover to the English, it became an outdoor dump. And then they were like, oh, well, yeah, no, this is not cool. So then they filled it in. And there are several maps that show this, that show the different canals. And the most famous is the Costello Plan. I knew a Costello in the Marine Corps. He was from New York. He had a big nose. That's really all I remember him by. It's crazy the things we remember about people, right? I'm sure what do people remember about me? Maybe my mouth, my voice, the red hair. I don't know. I'm kind of spastic. I don't know. Maybe they don't remember anything. Hopefully they remember my kindness and the fact that I'm not an asshole, right? Okay, Christo, who recently passed away. Christo rapped, well, not him, but in his memory, in honor of him, wrapped the L'Arc de Triomphe in cloth. And by wrap, I mean the entire thing was draped in cloth. And it was just a massive undertaking from an engineering standpoint. What kind of cloth do you use? How do you sew the cloth? How do you unfurl it? How do you make sure that you protect and not damage what's the edifice of the L'Arc de Triomphe, which is obviously a big historical landmark. So interesting article about that and how it was done. This is another article, The Teenage Miner, the Village, and the 709-carat diamond that changed everything. So the 16-year-old miner, Kumba Janbul, was mining, and he found this huge, let me go to it. Are you not going to show it? Come on. Really? Seriously? Okay, they're not showing it. But this he found the second largest natural diamond ever found in Sierra Leone. And this is an article about the Civil War, about the blood diamonds, a little bit about this guy's life and how it changed, how finding this changed his life. A little bit, not as much as one would hope. The community may still be waiting for the full benefits of his share, but the sale of the diamond has already changed the lives of Momo and his team. The pastor received $2.4 million. After expenses and payouts to local chiefs, the landowner, and the diggers, who were due 23% according to their original contract, he was left with a little less than $1 million. Each of his 5 diggers got about $115,000. After the initial hype, the final amount was a bit of a disappointment. So he got $115,000, but it's still a fortune in a country where 3/4 of the population live on less than $1 a day. And obviously, it's a burden. You live in one of the poorest places in the world, and you suddenly have all this money. And it talks about that and the effect that it had on his life. And it's hard. You say, look at him. He's wearing nicer clothes now. Check out his sneakers. So rather than hand each digger his share of the diamond sale in cash, Momo set them up with bank accounts. At his urging, each of the men purchased property. One invested the rest of his money with the bank and plans to live off the interest. Another opened a small business. 2 got married, one to a second wife And one says the pastor with a wince has regrettably started drinking. So one of them kind of like went off, but sounds like the other have tried to make things better. John Bull, however, decided to invest in an education. So he went back to school, and then he was thinking about going to Canada. I didn't read this. I'm sorry. I don't remember how it ends. You know what? You're going to have to read it if you want to know how it ends. I guess I'm going to have to read it if I want to know how it ends. All right, last one. This is the blood collages of John Bingley Garland. So there's this category of art that's called folk art or outsider art, and it's when just a random person makes art, and for whatever reason it catches the eye. Maybe it's primitive, maybe it's really weird, like drawn by a mental patient, maybe it's just something just really unusual. Now this guy made collages, and in every single one of his collage there's blood dripping off of stuff. And this is now in a museum, because it's just very unusual what he did, and it goes into it with the article about how he made the collages, and a little bit more about the guy. Not a whole lot, but enough to give you an idea. But you see every single one of these. So he made these, and they're like about this big, I guess. And you can see just and they're called blood collages because it looks like blood. This one, he went really crazy, right? But you got the flowers, the old architecture, like just really amazing stuff. It's not clear that Garland ever saw collages like the ones he decided to make. While Victorian scrapbooking could sometimes veer towards collage, the Blood Book is in a different category entirely, deploying techniques usually dated to Cubism in the early 20th century. There is no evidence that Garland even considered himself an artist. Born in Poole, England in 1791, he was a politician and merchant who joined the family fishmongering business. The fish came from Trinity, Newfoundland, such that Garland moved back and forth between Poole and Trinity, distinguishing himself in both places. Blah, 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 blah. Goes on about his life, his marriage, kids. But this is what he did in his spare time. He made these 41 collages. And below you can browse all of them courtesy of the Harry Ransom Center. And the Harry Ransom Center, I guess, is this, which is actually, you know what, I got to save this because there's probably more cool stuff here to be found. You know what I mean? There we go. We'll throw it in interesting stuff 13. But look, you can we can bigify them and really kind of look at the detail. I'm not sure how he made them. I didn't look into that. Like, did he cut? I don't know what materials he used. But there you have it. And with that, we are at the end of, oh wow, this has been playing the whole time. We are at the end of the second part, and the third part is the conspiracy part. So that's what we're going to do next. So if you're feeling it, you can come back. I'm starting to fade out, so I'll probably get goofy. But that never stopped me from sharing interesting stuff before. So I hope everybody has a good night. If you don't come back, maybe come see me tomorrow. And